I'm your host, Mark Gentili, the managing editor of Sudbury.com and Northern Life.
And I'm Nick Liard, news director with 92.7 Rock and KISS 105.3. We've got a full show as we're going to be bringing you live election updates as they come in when the polls close. We're going to have a full show in terms of, bringing to you talks on the Kingsway Entertainment District, women in politics, some of the debate stuff, and it's a chock-full show, Mark.
It is a chock-full show, Nick, and we'll be live from 3 campaign headquarters later on tonight, and of course, once the polls close and we get those results in, we'll be the first to get them to you live right here on Sudbury.com tonight. First, though, we are hearing about some voting issues, not just in Sudbury, where we've heard about some long delays. We've had issues with people not getting voter cards. We've had errors with people trying to log in and vote. But now we're hearing that those those issues are being felt not just in Sudbury, but in communities in different parts of Ontario, and we're trying to get to the bottom of that tonight.
Exactly. A lot of communities did choose to go online as well, whether it be full online or, half ballots and half online. Some communities are doing that. Here in Greater Sudbury, it seems like the website has crashed in the last little bit. Greater Sudbury tweeting that out, and people are in lines at the polling stations. There's 23 polling stations set up across the city. People are waiting in what are long lines there, and Greater Sudbury has tweeted out that if you're still in line and it goes past 8 p.m., they are going to still let you vote, and in fact, the deadline might be extended.
Yes, we've heard incumbent Ward 7 councillor Mike Jacobo has posted to his Facebook page that the city is working with Dominion, which is the company that provides the software and runs the software for these online elections. Jacobo said that the city is working with Dominion to try to address the problem, and it could be that we're going to have extended voting past the 8 p.m. Deadline tonight if the problems persist and they can't be corrected.
We want to encourage you as well to get your comments heard by going to Sudbury.com's Facebook page. Let us know what the voting experience is like, if you've had any problems, if it was seamless for you. A lot of people said that it was, pretty good last week leading up as they were voting throughout the week starting on October 15th. Today, it's kind of been bogged down since the very beginning of the day. The site crashed this morning as well, around 10 a.m. when the polls opened today. So we want to hear from you, and we'll be reading the comments throughout the show as well.
And someone who's been expressing concern about the online voting is Ward 2 councillor Michael Vagnini, who was acclaimed this year. We're going to be hearing from Councillor Vagnini in a little bit. He's going to be coming back. He's going to be coming and joining us here for a conversation a little bit later on about some of his concerns with how online voting went down in this municipal election.
So up until 4 p.m. today, there was a 35% voter turnout. It's about 39,000 residents in Greater Sudbury. Typically in a municipal election, we've seen around 45 to 50% voting. Last year was close to 50% the first time that they tried the online voting out. They went about half online voting. It was an option. Yeah. A lot of people took advantage of it. There didn't seem to be any problems with it last year.
No.
But, leading up to this vote, we've heard problems in terms of not receiving PIN numbers. All the Greater Sudbury libraries had staff on hand, and people were giving them praise, saying the job that they did in terms of rectifying some of the issues. Some people were sent 2 voter cards, some people wrong address that it was sent to. So, the staff have been working tirelessly this whole last week in trying to get everybody, corrected and voting.
Yeah, and in particular, some seniors in particular have expressed some concern with the online voting because if they needed to get assistance with using an iPad or a tablet or a computer to cast their ballot, they weren't familiar with the platform, they're unfamiliar with how to use the device, and so a returning officer or an election official would have to help them vote. And a lot of seniors, or it's not a lot, but some seniors expressed concern that that resulted in them losing the confidentiality, the secrecy that normally goes along with voting.
Yeah, and we just got word that all communities using Dominion are down at this point. this was this is something that you could run into with the high volume of traffic, especially on the last day, the voter day. Traditionally, people like to have that one day where they go out to the polls and vote. So it seems like the high traffic is really coming through today, and it's crashed all the sites, all communities using Dominion, which is including Greater Sudbury. So that is the latest on that, and hope they're working obviously to get it back up and running. But I mean, we saw it this week with the Ontario cannabis store, just the high traffic that got, and it was crashed for a little while. So I mean, very similar when you're getting those websites who are maybe not prepared for the high volume of traffic.
And which is a problem. It may not be such a big problem if you're trying to order an ounce of marijuana, but if you're trying to cast a ballot, that's a meaningful problem. And if people lack confidence in the voting system, that's a problem for democracy. So hopefully these problems get addressed tonight, and hopefully they get fixed before the next time we have to go to the polls.
And on that note too, what's the repercussions after the election, right? Because I mean, with so many issues leading up to this, if it's going to be extended, hopefully it's just extended beyond the 8 p.m. deadline and all votes are in, and there's no issues beyond that. But you just don't know at this point.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll have some more on that later. As we said, we're going to have some issues. We have pieces on women in politics. We have some highlights from the debates that we covered live as well. But right now, Nick, why don't we set the table a little bit, and we will roll Sudbury Speaks. We went out to various parts of the city. We tried to hit, various neighborhoods. We tried to hit a wider demographic of people to just try and get a read on what matters to Sudburyans in this municipal election. So let's roll that tape right now, and we'll have a look at this.
Heading into this election, what issues are most important to you?
Financial state of the city over the next 4 years. Very serious problem. Because we just elected a provincial government that is going to be tightening the belt. That provincial government is not going to be providing us with the funds that we need to do a lot of the things that we have to do around the city, like addictions treatment, event centers, and that sort of thing. We're not going to have as much money from that level of government, so we really have to prioritize what we have. And in that same vein, we're spending $100 million on an event center. The question is whether that is the most prudent way to spend that $100 million when we know that we're not going to have very much provincial funding for the next 4 years, and we're going to have to tighten our belts.
I think for myself, as a student at Laurentian University, some of the key issues that I'm facing when I'm making my decision on who to vote for would have to be, number one, transit. I want to see how the city and how each candidate plans on dealing with our current transit system and how they plan on integrating that into an environmental plan for our city.
I would prefer to have more attention paid to the infrastructure in Sudbury, the Kingsway Entertainment Centre. That's nice to have. How much economic development will it have in the long run? Not much. We should depend more on bringing good business into town, increase our tax base, and look after our items that we use every day, our roads, our parks, and make sure that the people of Sudbury have these amenities and not focus on a small few.
I don't think I want an entertainment district because I don't want more prostitution. I don't want more gambling. I don't want money to be just basically gathered up and shipped out of town. And nothing's going back into the local economy. As a matter of fact, with this gambling casino, it just sucks up money that would actually go into the local economy.
I think the roads are a concern, and being able to pay for them, as well as other infrastructure, and also promoting growth in the city and trying to establish a base of growth that'll pay the bills.
One of the biggest issues coming into this election for me is the opioid crisis in Sudbury, and the presence of, or like the introduction of something like a safe injection site or a risk reduction site or something like that, because addiction is a big problem in the city right now, and it's spreading pretty quickly.
I think for me personally, so I've been working at a pharmacy for 5 years, so I deal with one specifically that distributes methadone. So I've dealt a lot with like seeing people who are dealing with opioid addiction and everything of that nature. And I think one of the things that's kind of caught my eye more with just hearing the candidates talk about it is that no one has like a concrete plan.
For me, as someone who's fairly involved in the arts community downtown, the issue of the KED is one of the biggest things for me, because I'm worried that if it gets moved down onto the Kingsway, which is looking increasingly likely that it will, that we won't have the same sort of draw to more auxiliary events downtown.
I live in the Valley, and me coming down from Valley to here, I have to come to class 2 hours early or 2 hours late, because there's no frequent buses that goes from Valley. Same goes with my friends. She works at the Rainbow Center. If she needs to get her to come in on time, she has to leave her house at 2 hours early to get to Rainbow Center, because there's no frequent buses that goes from downtown to Valley back and forth.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is the Sudbury.com and Rogers Radio live election show, Municipal Election 2018. I'm your host, Mark Gentili, the managing editor of Sudbury.com.
And I'm Nick Liard, news director with 92.7 Rock and KISS 105.3. So polls close at 8 o'clock, but it seems like we might be extending that.
Yeah, it certainly sounds that way. Voting municipalities using Dominion as their vote service software provider in this election. All of those municipalities, their voting systems have gone down. So voting is at a standstill across Ontario, or at least at 100 and some odd municipalities across Ontario.
Yes, and Peterborough is one of those communities who are using that software and are thinking about extending the voting deadline to 9 p.m. That's something that's been thrown around here. We're getting word that that's been perhaps an option for Greater Sudbury. So it seems like almost, the worst with this system is starting to happen in terms of the crashing of the site. Greater Sudbury tweeting out not too long ago, they're still experiencing issues with the election server. It's a common to all municipalities, as we mentioned, across the province using the provider, so stay tuned, and they're working as hard as they can to get it up and running.
Okay, thanks, Nick. That's, and we're going to keep on top of that issue all night. For regular updates, please, check with Sudbury.com. We will be providing story updates to that as the night goes on. Also, stay with us on Facebook and Twitter, where there will be updates there as well.
So speaking of stories, we heard the streeters. We went out to the street, talked to people in Greater Sudbury what their biggest issues were, and, some very intelligent answers that we got from the people in Greater Sudbury. And it's clear that, what they want in this municipal election. Obviously, the Kingsway Entertainment District dominated it. The debates, the discussions, but there's some good stuff in there about Greater Sudbury Transit and some roads obviously is going to be a big problem in Greater Sudbury, and it's the infrastructure was one of the big topics.
Infrastructure always is a big topic. There are those sort of chestnuts that, as we like to say, that come up every election: taxation, roads, spending. All those issues always come up. But of course, the defining issue in this municipal election in Greater Sudbury is, of course, the Kingsway Entertainment District.
So last municipal election, we did have a referendum question, and that was store hours. This time we don't have a referendum, but it almost turned into it being a referendum in terms of the candidates are running on this specific platform. So that's what everyone wanted to know. What was your candidate's stance on the Kingsway Entertainment District? And so we had a lot of different varying answers in terms of, the cost of the project, the location of the project, and the process that's going on currently with the LPAT, the Local Planning Appeals Tribunal. So there was a lot of discussion going on about this project.
There certainly is a lot of, in every race, certainly in the mayoral race where you have 10 candidates challenging incumbent Brian Bigger, I think 4 of those candidates are categorically against the KED. Brian Bigger is, of course, for the KED, although he originally wasn't for the KED. Originally, he wanted it to go downtown. It's a long and sort of convoluted story about what got us to this place.
Exactly. So the biggest piece, and especially you heard it in the streeter piece that we did, was the cost of the project. That was the biggest thing. I think, people can accept the location. There's still some, debate about downtown or the Kingsway, and I think people can accept that we need a new arena. I think that was probably the least amount of argument is people aren't saying no, we don't need a new arena. It's just the debate is location, and as we heard more and more about the cost and how the city was going to pay for it, was $100 million. That's a lot of money, and what's that going to do for my taxes? So I took a look around at the main tenant of this arena will be the Sudbury Wolves.
Right. You took a look around. Well, what did you find?
The OHL arenas are around the province. Some of the costs of what they were to build. So the most comparable city, Kingston to us, a relatively new arena, the Leon Center, was $43 million to build when it was opened in 2008. So adjust for inflation to about $53 million. And that's an arena that can hold 6,800 people for a concert, about 54 for an OHL game. That's around what we were looking for in the arena here.
And half the cost.
At half the cost. You look at Sault Ste. Marie, comparable city to us in terms of economic layout and area, and they built it for $25 million. You adjust that obviously for inflation, but that's only going to bring you to about $29–30 million. And what they did was similar to what they looked at downtown here, was have the arena standing, build across the street, and then demolish the old arena. And they did that while incorporating some of the old facilities in their arena for $25 million. So I think that's the biggest, well, how can these communities across the province build for that? And we're looking at $100 million.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good question. Someone did tweet at us. We're going to get to something else in a second, but I just want to see this tweet. Someone tweeted to our hashtag GSVotes18. The province, I don't see the Twitter handle here, but the province was not prepared for rolling out online voting this year. I smell a court challenge.
I didn't see the last part said challenge. I saw it said, I smell a court. And I was like, that doesn't make sense.
What does a court smell like, Nick?
Well, broken dreams. So, back to the Kingsway Entertainment District.
Yeah, what we're actually here to talk about.
Yes, exactly. So we did, Heather did an amazing job, Heather Green Oliver, did an amazing job at putting together this piece, because there's, a lot more myths, it seems like, about this project than truths.
Maybe misconceptions. Other than myths. I mean, it's a process that unfolded over 2 years. Yeah. It certainly evolved over that period of time. And if someone wasn't keeping track, really keeping track of how the story was unfolding, they would have missed key pieces to it. Key pieces about how certain decisions that were made, certain costs that were incorporated into it. Those sorts of things. People, if you didn't really pay close attention, you would have missed something.
I don't know, right up until, a couple of months ago when the LPAT process began, people thought, well, why isn't Dario Zulich paying for the whole thing, like he said? But, those are small little things that people missed along the way, and that's all explained in this video, so if you want to take a look at it.
Yeah, let's go to that video now. It's a Kingsway Entertainment District explainer. Details from Darren McDonald and fantastic editing from our own new media reporter, Heather Green Oliver. So let's roll that video right now.
The topic of the Kingsway Entertainment District, or KED, has dominated every political discussion over the past year. Voters want to know where the candidates stood on the issue and whether they supported the KED or not. And so did the candidates.
Take a stand, for God's sakes, and let the people know where you stand.
There's a lot of confusion right from the get-go as to whether it was going to originally be 100% paid for by the developer and then the city's paying for it.
I want to know exactly how the decision was made that taxpayers would fund the big developments and who made that decision.
So the decisions were presented in reports to council. Council considered these reports from staff, from the experts, and we made the decisions in council.
I don't feel like the information was displayed or communicated correctly to our citizens, and I think that's managed to piss people off on both sides of the equation, whether you're for a downtown arena or if you want to see it out in the Kingsway.
Because the aspects of the project unfolded over the course of a couple of years, many directions and decisions may have gotten lost in the shuffle. Here's what you need to know. Construction of the Sudbury Arena began in the 1950s, making it the oldest rink in the Ontario Hockey League. The arena lacks amenities of modern arenas. The small loading dock is not equipped to handle large touring shows, not to mention the acoustics inside the arena are unsuitable for many performances. Successive city councils have studied replacing the arena, and different retrofits have been done over the years. After the 2014 election, the current city council began a big projects initiative where people were invited to bring their ideas to council. Among the presenters was Dario Zulich, who proposed a $60 million arena on the Kingsway to be built as a Triple P project. Zulich would build it and run it for 30 years in exchange for loan guarantees and operating funds, similar to what the arena gets now. Shortly after that meeting, councillors got behind the idea of a new arena, convention center, library, art gallery, and Place des Arts. The city hired consultant PricewaterhouseCoopers, who went through all the arena proposals. In that report, the downtown location received the highest overall rating to host a new arena, but the property on the Kingsway was a close second and received high marks for its ample parking. It was estimated that either site would cost about $100 million to develop. In 2016, City Council voted that regardless of its location, the arena would be funded by the taxpayers and debt financed over 30 years, rejecting the model that Zulich proposed, but keeping the idea of an entertainment district. In June 2017, Gateway announced its plans to build a casino and entertainment property as part of the development on the Kingsway. If the project goes ahead, gaming operations at Sudbury Downs and Chelmsford will move to the Kingsway. On June 27, 2017, both downtown supporters and supporters of the Kingsway project filled city chambers and tuned into the city's live stream to watch as council voted for the home of Sudbury's new arena.
It is a tie. A tie is deemed to be lost.
The vote for the downtown location was tied 6-6, and in municipal politics, a tied vote is a lost vote. When it came time to vote for the Kingsway location, several of the councillors, including Mayor Brian Bigger, changed their vote and supported the Kingsway project. The format of the vote continues to be criticized, with some saying putting the downtown vote first left councillors no choice but to support the Kingsway location. A report prepared for that council meeting said the $100 million it would cost to build the new arena will be financed at an interest rate of 3.6%, with debt repayments at $5.5 million a year for 30 years. Repayment would begin in 2021, the original timeline for when the event center was to open. However, it's unlikely the KED will be built by then because of appeals to the local planning appeals tribunal that oppose zoning changes and an official plan amendment that's needed to build the arena, casino, and parking lot on the site. The LPAT has scheduled the first conference to take place in November and must make a decision by June 2019. Options to pay for the arena range from putting the full amount on property taxes to using internal funding sources so no tax increase would be required. Putting the entire bill on property taxes would require adding 0.7% to tax bills for 3 years, which would raise the $5.5 million by 2021. But there are other options on the table. For one, the city's commitment to help fund construction of the city's Medical Research Center and School of Architecture ends in 2020. That frees up $1.1 million that can be directed to the arena. And this year, Council approved a new hotel tax, half of which must be directed to tourism, leaving a potential of $800,000 to go towards the new arena. There will also be a significant amount available in 2023 when the city retires some long-term debt, saving $2.3 million a year. Plus, Council already approved $800,000 for the project in last year's budget. Together, those options total about $5 million a year in potential financing on the $5.5 million annual mortgage. City proposals also call for a fundraising campaign to raise $10 million, in which, if successful, would reduce the annual payment to $5.2 million. The 2018 municipal election in Sudbury has practically become a referendum on the massive project, and has created great controversy in our city. Here's what some residents had to say.
Are you in favor of the Kingsway Entertainment District?
Absolutely, 100%. Long overdue. Can't wait.
I don't like the process, the way we came to it, that's all. But I'm for a new arena, obviously.
I always think back to Science North, when the decision was not too popular to make Science North, and look what it's become. So, yes, I definitely am in favor.
I'm definitely against the Kingsway Entertainment District. I think that improving current infrastructure is much more of a priority for our community than creating an entirely new system.
I think it's important for the downtown core to have the arena close to the businesses and support them instead of the Kingsway.
They do want to keep it downtown. There's no room downtown. There's no parking. We need a good centralized location for our concerts and other venues. So
We need a new arena, but it's the wrong location. I think it should be in the south end, behind the south end, behind the mall. But
I think it's being positioned like it's going to be the savior for our city, and I just don't agree with that. I do feel we need to entertain, we need to attract, we need to foster our arts and our sports and our culture. I don't know if it needs to be down on the Kingsway.
I don't think I'm really against the development of a new arena, but I am against wastefully spending money without ensuring a proper display of where the money's coming from, who's spending on it.
I'm looking forward to the work that will come out of it for construction and whatnot, and I think it'd be great for the city.
I think it's great for the city, and it's about time that it happened.
I think the Kingsway is a bad place, in my opinion, to put it, especially with a casino. It's just not convenient. Let's say if you have a bunch of people drinking and then finding your way home from the Kingsway, it's not really close to housing. And
I can understand the need for something new, but I don't understand why we couldn't build it in the already centralized location that we have downtown that had multiple economic reports say it would be the most beneficial long-term for the city.
I think it's a good idea to have a new arena. I think it's just a bad location.
And why is that?
I don't think there should be an arena right next to the dump.
I don't think that it's the best thing for the city, casino included. Casino's not a good idea. It sucks wealth out of the city.
I'm against the Kingsway Entertainment District for a number of reasons, including the casino, how it'll ruin the economy and the community.
I don't care where it is, as long as it's somewhere. Because the rest of the things that follow afterwards, if it doesn't go there, then this doesn't change, it stays the same, sort of a deal. So then I've got no library and none of this and none of the rest of it. So let's follow through on a few things.
Live election show where we're finding out anything can happen, and we've just been confirmed that there is going to be a press conference held at Tom Davies Square at 8 p.m. to update residents on what exactly is going on with voting.
That is true. We are going to be sending one of our reporters over to City Hall. We're going to bring that feed into this live stream show so that you at home will be able to get up-to-the-minute info on what's happening with voting issues in the city.
So yes, voting issues in the city, and if there's a press conference at 8 p.m., one would have to assume that the voting deadline will be extended beyond that 8 p.m. deadline.
I would think that that's what the city is going to be announcing, that they're going to acknowledge that there are problems here and across Ontario, and it seems likely that they will be extending that voting period. We are hearing, of a pretty high amount of frustration we're seeing on social media from residents who have gone to polling stations to try and vote, or who have gone to voting help centers to try and get help. They're sent to another location, the system has gone down, they can't vote, people are leaving the polling stations without being able to cast a ballot.
Now, you talked about it before that, long lines at polling stations, it's nothing new. It's happened before. The frustrating part is nobody is able to move in those lines because nobody is able to vote. So there's 23 polling stations set up across the city today to help residents who maybe not be comfortable with the online voting, because Greater Sudbury went all online for this municipal election. So the polling stations were set up, people could go get help or just cast their ballots there. Mm-hmm. And that's when, around 7 o'clock is when the website, Dominion is the operator of the website, and you said it, communities across the province are using this server, and they're down across the province. So it's been since 7 o'clock since people have had these problems. It's not back up and running as of yet, and Greater Sudbury will be holding a press conference at 8 p.m. to update residents on their plan of action.
That's right. So that's in about a half an hour's time. So if we stick with the original plan, the polls are going to close at 8. but it seems likely that given this press conference that's coming up from the city at 8 o'clock, where they're going to update us about what's going on, we may see an extension to that voting. So if you haven't voted yet, or if you've left a polling station and in frustration, you may get another chance to vote. Those servers may come back up. You may be able to log in with a device at home without having to go to a station, and you may be able to cast your ballot after all.
And we want to remind you as well, if you are having problems voting, or if you did manage to get on the site and were able to cast your ballot, head to our Facebook page, Sudbury.com's Facebook page, to have your comments heard, and also use the hashtag on Twitter, GSVotes2018, to let us know what's going on, so we can continue to keep the public updated on the municipal election.
Right, and if you aren't, if you're mobile at the moment and you are tuning in on the radio, you can always tune into KISS 103.5.
KISS 105.3.
You're almost got it that time.
You're close.
KISS 105.3. You can always tune into KISS 105.3 on the 20s and the 40s for after 8 o'clock for updates to what's happening with the provincial election.
Exactly.
So the municipal election.
The municipal election. Federal's coming up soon, so it's one of them, right?
It's one of them. We've it's been all elections all the time for the past 8 months.
Exactly. And so what we just, before we got into the whole press conference conversation, we had talked about the Kingsway Entertainment District and the video to kind of get you up to speed of everything going around that project. And so what we're going to go into next is how it highlighted or not took over debates, but was one of the major topics in the debates that happened. And there was a lot of debates that happened throughout the city.
There were quite a few debates. Sudbury.com, we live streamed, I think, 4 of them, if I remember correctly. And yeah, certainly the KED, the KED, the Kingsway Entertainment District, whatever you want to call it, that was certainly one of those points that every candidate raised. Every candidate had an opinion on it. Some of them delivered some pretty hard-hitting punches. Some punches didn't land quite so well. Others landed quite well. What we've done is we've gone through all of the footage from the debates that we did provide live stream coverage of, and we just teased out those areas where the Kingsway was the topic of conversation, was the topic of criticism, just to kind of give you a picture of what the main candidates are saying about the project and what their major concerns are with this $100 million arena event center casino complex that the city has approved to build out on the eastern end of the Kingsway.
So we can go to that video now and see what those candidates had to say.
I supported the downtown option. It didn't pass. There were not enough votes.
The fact of the matter is, if the city had not thrown up roadblocks when this development first got started, it had been finished years ago. We'd be collecting the taxes and we wouldn't be having this discussion.
My comments have a direct bearing on why the Downtown Association and every citizen should be wary of any promises made by this mayor. Since the last election, our city has embarked on a series of big projects. Projects that were brought forward by dynamic, energetic, and committed people from within our community. In each case, the mayor has stepped in to reshape that vision to his own liking and to the detriment of our community. Originally envisioned as a private-public partnership, the Kingsway Entertainment District is now arbitrarily being fully funded through borrowing.
If the citizens want an arena, I will make sure as mayor you'll get it, but it won't be with a blank check from this community.
I don't feel like the information was displayed or communicated correctly to our citizens, and I think that's managed to piss people off on both sides of the equation, whether you're for a downtown arena or if you want to see it out in the Kingsway. For me, I would agree with the comment Patricia said that council has made a decision and that the Kingsway is it, but at the same time I think we need to be respectful of the LPAT process and let democracy play its course.
We're looking at an arena on the Kingsway that the same arena cost $47 million in St. Catharines. So we're spending $60-some million of our money to develop property so someone can have a light industrial park out there.
60% of people want a new event center, and 60% of people want that event center to be on the Kingsway. The investment
in a new event center is a replacement of existing infrastructure. It's a replacement of an aging asset.
The bottom line, yes or no? Are you for or against going forward with the KED? Kingsway Entertainment, yes or no?
I am not for paying for anything with taxpayers' dollars without a thorough understanding of what we're paying for. Whether it's...
Is that a yes or no?
That's my answer.
Okay, thank you. Dan?
You're not going to get a yes or no on this one. Development, yes. Who pays for it? That's the question. And I don't believe that the taxpayers, like Patricia said, and some of the others on the running here have said, this should not be paid for by the taxpayers. If it's a private public partnership or a private development, go for it.
Thank you. That's the longest yes/no answers I've gotten so far. Right? Jeff. And by the way, Jeff, I apologize for putting
That's okay. I wasn't sure, and I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's too hard to get out of here. I am not in favor of the KED project. I've always said I think it believes downtown. We have a master downtown plan. It states that we revitalize our downtown, and I'm fully for that.
Thank you. Bill, once again, I apologize to you as well.
Thank you. And despite the fact I'm an academic and I can go on for an hour and 20 minutes once I start, my answer to your question is quite simply no.
Thank you. Wow, that was great. Cody.
For me, before making any decision moving forward in either direction, I would like to see the LPAT process play out. I think it's important that if we are going to make a smart decision for this community, we need to make an informed decision. We've been doing a lot of door knocking in the community. There are still a great number of people who want to see the KED move forward. Whether or not that makes it a good idea is yet to be seen. I would like to see the results of the LPAT before making a decision either way, and I do think we need to review who's paying for this project at the end of the day.
Thank you. Mayor Baker.
Yes, I'm in favor of the Kingsway, the event center on the Kingsway. And to the point about who's paying for it, what people should understand is that, theater centers, event centers are not profit generators, okay? They don't generate vast amounts of income. That's why municipalities exist, is to deliver services that private sector doesn't deliver, okay? The replacement of this arena is replacement of a 70-year-old asset, okay? We're replacing assets all of the time, and the Maple Leaf Gardens was turned into a grocery store and a small skating rink.
Sudbury.com's live stream of the municipal election night 2018, and I don't know that I've ever covered an election that has gone quite this way.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind so far. We were expecting, polls to close at 8 o'clock, so we're expecting some results to come in just over 20 minutes, and it seems like that's not going to be the case, as there's going to be a press conference held at Tom Davies Square at 8 p.m. as the websites that the voting has been on have crashed across the province, and it's looking like we might get an extension of the deadline, and not just an hour extension.
No, we are hearing now. This is unconfirmed at the moment, but Ward 7 incumbent Mike Jacobo has posted this on his Facebook page, as has school board trustee candidate Travis Morgan has also tweeted this. That, oh my goodness, okay, we are getting, is this a confirmed report now?
Clerk is now emailing candidates.
What we have just learned is that the city clerk is now emailing candidates in the election. It seems that the voting period in the 2018 municipal election in Sudbury will not be just extended an hour. It won't be just extended 2 hours. It won't even be extended 3 hours. What we're hearing is the voting period is going to be extended for a full 24 hours until 8 p.m. tomorrow night, Tuesday, October 23rd.
So I think we have enough content. We can go the full 24 hours.
Oh yeah, stick with us, folks. We're going to be here. I mean, this will be like the Jerry Lewis telethon.
Exactly. So I think we have a campfire ready to set up.
Yep.
We can change into pajamas, and we can just have a full all-night. I brought pajamas.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And you're wearing the bow tie, so you can unsling it, unhook your collar, be all sweaty, just the way Jerry used to do it.
Exactly, and it's reversible, so it's good for tomorrow.
Perfect. There
Wonderful.
you go. We are going to. We have Councillor Michael Vagnini, Ward 2 Councillor Michael Vagnini is here with us. We're going to have him on in a minute here to talk about the situation. He's expressed concerns about the voting period for some period of time. We're just going to get Mr. Vagnini mic'd up. In the meantime, we're going to go to a short video that we compiled again from the debate highlights.
Yeah. So Mayor Brian Bigger was the target of many of the attacks during the debate from Patricia Mills, Dan Melanson. Cody Cacciotti was more kind of neutral in terms of not attacking the incumbent. But this video here kind of shows those attacks and how the mayor responded to them.
Well, I knew going in tonight it would be the target of almost everyone up here. That's okay. I'm proud of my record. We're finally making progress. We're finally getting things built.
Why hire consultants if we're not going to listen to them? Why have people sitting on committees who are very busy if you're not going to listen to them? This is our community. And I have a question for you, Mayor Bigger. Who made the decision that taxpayers would fund this project 100%?
If we look at Nora, we weren't thorough with that pitch. There's no way we should be flying to Finland to investigate a smelter site on taxpayer dollars without driving down the highway and talking to the citizens of Coniston. Thank you.
What I would like to know, and someday I hope to meet, is I'd like to know why someone felt that developers alone should take the brunt of the cost of the crumbling infrastructure in our city because previous councils and administration didn't plan properly.
I love this city and the people here, and I think it can be so much better than what it is. There is waste and mismanagement.
It was 4 years ago that we were all here at the last election for a debate. There was a lot of things promised during that last election cycle and at the debate. And very little of those promises have come to realization. I hope that after we're done with this debate that there'll be promises that are made that will actually be kept or not made at all.
I hope you enjoyed those video clips. We're just getting Councillor Michael Vagnini mic'd up here. He's going to be joining me on the set in a second to talk about what's been happening tonight. Councillor Vagnini.
How are you tonight?
You, sir, know how to make an entrance.
Thank you.
That is a heck of a jacket. Is this a special one just for tonight?
It is.
This is an election jacket?
With extra points. Extra points I
see
bought
that.
this
Like
way.
it's like 1,000 points. This is like a George H. Bush speech writ large. It's got 1,000 points of light. You got everything covered there.
Everything is covered. Everything is covered, Mark.
What do you make of what's going on tonight? You have over the past week or so, and even before that, but really most vociferously in the past week, you've expressed concern about the online voting. What do you make of? How do you react to what's happening across the province tonight and in Sudbury?
So Mark, there was some problems after the 2014. I did bring it forward in 2015 with the sitting CAO at the time and the mayor, and nothing was done. And earlier this year, when we made the decision on which way we were going to go with regards to the voting process, I brought things forward again, and it fell on deaf ears.
What was your concern? What's your concern with the online voting?
Okay, well, what we're seeing tonight is a big crash. I mean, this is something that's even gone farther. I said at this point in time, in the infancy stages of the online process, we needed to have the paper ballot. Yeah. And I think we put the cart before the horse with this one, and we've gone all electronic. And I allude to a story in grade 12 English when we read about the futuristic world when the machine stops and everybody lived inside and they didn't go outside, and one day the machine stopped, and here we are, the machine has stopped. And so I have no idea what they're going to say at 8 o'clock. We're hearing a lot of rumors about maybe they're going to give us an extra day of voting, and we could be sitting in the same
You haven't
position.
been able to confirm that we're going to be getting an extra day?
You made me come over here to talk to you, so I've been on the phone trying to find out what is exactly going on. Yeah. I will be heading over to City Hall to Tom Davies to find out exactly what the press release is going to be at 8 o'clock, and then I'll be able to come back and confirm that again.
We would appreciate that. Now, we can't. It's maybe a bit early to say that it's as dire as the machine stopping and the end of civilization, but certainly
You said the end of civilization. I just said the end of voting for tonight.
Certainly, though, there is this harms people's confidence in the voting system. Would you say?
I have had so many issues come forward since I put the article out in the press last week. I did have a lot of negative comment with regards to, like, why would I think that there's an issue with the voting process? I'm not a Houdini, I'm not brilliant, but I did foresee that we had issues. MPAC did tell us that there was issues with the voting list. Now this is something completely different. So, I mean, but the two going together, yes, it does hurt the integrity of the voting process.
Your concern was with errors and as well with seniors who may be uncomfortable or unfamiliar with digital technology, and who may be uncomfortable with casting a ballot that wasn't actually on paper, that wasn't going to be counted, you know, by a scrutineer, wasn't going to be seen. Those were your concern wasn't with the integrity of the electronic system so much as the ability of every voter to be able to vote.
That is half right.
Okay.
Because I'll tell you why that's
about
half
my
right.
best score.
Well, actually, with you and I, that is your best score. So that is half right because of the fact that I did say we can't leave the paper ballot. And I have had so many calls. I had one gentleman that said to me on Saturday morning, he said, I went and voted. He said, I've been in 2 wars. And he said, I've never missed an election since the age of 18. He said, I went in there, the people were amazing to deal with, but he says, I know nothing about computers, and I had to sit down, and the lady had to see what my vote was. And it wasn't that she's going to run out and tell anybody, but he said it was the first time that anybody has saw his vote. He had never shared that with his family, with his friends, with his wife, and he said, I don't think I'll be voting in the next election if this doesn't change. And we had countless stories of that where people, one individual, they said they hadn't received a voting card for their mother who had passed 25 years ago. This is the first time they received that. Their father had passed 29 years ago. They received a voting card for that.
And certainly we see sort of anecdotal and anomalous kind of mistakes like that crop up in every election, regardless of the difference here is that we aren't sure how widespread the problem is.
Correct, but in the old days, when we did enumeration by going to the homes or sending out the cards to the home, and you would check off, I'm Mark Gentili, I have a beautiful wife, I have beautiful children, and I'm either voting Catholic or I'm voting public board. That was different from where we are today, because Impact sends a list in, and that's when it goes out. So some people have said to me, well, how come you've just brought this up in the past couple of weeks? It isn't something that we would have known about 6 months ago or a year ago, because people are just getting their cards in now.
That's true, but the list that MPAC provides to the municipalities, they acknowledge that they have about a 92% accuracy when it comes to people who own their homes, and they have about a 79% accuracy on the information for people who are tenants. From when MPAC delivers that preliminary list of electors, it's now the responsibility of the municipality to take that information and confirm it. Right.
Correct.
So we don't know where the breakdown occurred. We don't know if the breakdown occurred at the city side or at the MPAC side at this point. It's a little too early to tell.
And so who scrubbed the data? How was the data scrubbed? MPAC did emit or come out after the 2014 election. They did say that there was an issue with the voting or the voter list, and they said they would have. They actually put a timeline out, and they said the timeline was working so that in November of 2018, they would have most of it corrected. Unfortunately, that was after our election, and that's why I kept saying, where's that paper ballot, where's that paper ballot?
Which is why I'm saying it's the responsibility of the municipality to take that primary or preliminary list of electors provided by MPAC and confirm that information, like people who have died, people who have moved, things like information, that data that MPAC doesn't have access to, but the municipality does.
You are correct.
Right? Yeah. So, but now tonight we don't even know what the issue is. I mean, leaving aside the issue with with a certain demographic of people feeling like they aren't comfortable with the voting system, which I agree with you. That is an issue that the city should have addressed and didn't. We have a totally separate issue though tonight if we have to perhaps extend voting for 24 hours.
Well, as you and I are both standing here, we know this is going to be a first in the history. And I don't want to be the one to say I told you so, but I told you so.
Are you sure you don't want to be the one to say that?
No. I'm going to step back on this one, and I would like to get over to Tom Davies to find out exactly what is going on, and then I will come back and report back to you.
I appreciate that, Michael. If you could head out there now, we'll go to a video. We'll let you get out the door, and we'll come back to you in a few minutes. Right now, what we did was, in this election, just if you can give me a few minutes here,
Sure.
just 30 seconds or so. What happened in this?
Does this mean I have to leave, or can
No,
I
you
stand
can. You can
beside
just. You just stand
I just
here.
want to stand. Okay.
Just stand beside me.
If you see me running down the street over to Tom Davies, do not hit me, please.
So in this election, Sudbury was one of only 2 cities in Northern Ontario that had a woman seeking the office of mayor. There were only a handful of female candidates running in the ward races. That percentage was a little bit higher in the trustee races. We sent Elena McDougall out to speak to past politicians, current politicians, and political hopefuls to see what motivates them to run, why they sought office in the first place, and what might be preventing more women from seeking office.
I love politics, so this was great to get involved. I used to be involved before. I used to work for the former member of parliament and the former mayor.
It's been a great experience for me. I've loved running for councillor. I love my community, and I've had support, a ton of support, and I think that that's made it all more enjoyable.
We had an ongoing issue that was not being addressed. Although I had sent emails, they went, how would you say, not ignored, but pretty darn close. So I thought, okay, if you're not going to do something about it, I'm going to. And I was very fortunate. I had my sister, Monique Landry-Sabourin, who was very much of a politico. Anyone out there who knows her knows that. And she said, Jocelyn, the seat is empty. Why don't you do something about it? And I said, okay. And that's exactly how it started.
I just want to make a big change in the city. Not just, things that after 4 years, you don't really notice a change in certain people. So in my 4 years, I want to make sure people are going to say, yep, she did something and there was a big change and I recognize it.
I'd done 11 years at Rainbow Roots, basically serving the community through a not-for-profit, and I wanted to serve my community beyond that. So that was my motivation for doing it. I mean, the decision to do it was long. I got asked a number of times. It was suggested to me a number of times. I think the one I remember the most was a friend of mine saying to me, I don't know what I was talking about, and she said, I want to be your campaign manager when you run, not if, when you run. And when I decided to run a year before the election, I went to her and I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And she knew exactly what I meant. So from there, you start to build a team.
It was when I sat down with my daughters and I said, do you think I should do this? Because I have a job that I love with Neo Kids Foundation. And I said, do you think I should do this? And they said, oh, Mom, you have to do this. And I said, I have to do it? And they said, yes, you have to do it because this city needs to change. It needs a different type of leadership. And Mom, you can do this. Look at what you've already done.
We should be treating people equally. And I have my daughter that's been a strong supporter of me. She's always helped me as a candidate in my elections, in my running. And she always said, Mom, we couldn't even vote 150 years ago, 100 years ago. Women couldn't even go into a bar. We couldn't vote. We've come a long way, but today, women can vote. And that's made a difference. Maybe philosophically, or we're treating people equally, but on the day-to-day basis, are we really treating people equally? And that's my greatest dream, that gender equality.
I think it would be trailblazing. We had our first female elected mayor with Marianne Matichuk. I worked underneath her and she was a great inspiration. You don't see them very often.
girls from high schools to come in for meetings and see what it's like. And we have views, they have views, we like to listen to them. And so I think a lot of women, younger women, should get involved.
I recoil, I cringe when I hear denigration of previous councils. You weren't there. You weren't privy. Did you read the reports? Did you know how those decisions were made? To jump in at the high level without having done the homework is not doing anyone any, it's a disservice to this community.
You need to be able to be quick on your feet for the problem solving and the negotiating of how we're going to get there. Transparency is key, and I think women would do well in City Council.
And maybe it's just as difficult for men to put themselves out there. I don't know, because I'm not a man. But I try to encourage. I would like to encourage people. Sometimes I say, what's the worst thing that can happen? Put your name on the ballot. What's the worst thing that can happen?
Feel the fear and do it anyway. Feel the fear and do it anyway. If you believe that you have attributes and skills, and you do have them, women have them, they just need to believe in themselves a bit more, then put yourself out there. It's a learning experience. The whole process of campaigning and the election is a fantastic learning experience. But feel the fear and do it anyways, and you'll be surprised at the outcomes, because you will change through the process, and you'll learn a lot. So there is no losing for you.
Any woman out there that wants to run municipally, provincially, or federally, I'll help you. I'll share you my secrets. But the most important secret is love and having a vision of what you want to do. And I'm sure that you're going to find people out there in the community that will be wanting to work with you. So don't be scared. Bring your fear with you, but also bring your talents and your strengths and your relationships. And you're going to go ahead in the world. And even if we have disappointments or challenges, we usually get stronger.
One of the things about being on council and having women representation, then other women can look and say, oh, well, if she can do it, I can do it. But if you don't have enough of us out there, it makes it difficult for people to see themselves playing that role.
Welcome back to Sudbury.com's live election coverage, where we have just learned that the voting has been extended. The deadline has been extended until tomorrow.
That's true. We're going to have to figure out what we're doing with our show. It's leaving us a bit of scrambling to do. We have lots of stuff that we're going to provide to you. Very shortly, we're going to be going to Tom Davies Square. We have reporter Heidi Elrickson on the scene. There's going to be a live Q&A with the city clerk about the voting issues and about the voting problems we've been having tonight.
So this is what the city tweeted out just minutes ago. Due to province-wide issues with the election server, they are extending the voting period from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. tomorrow, October 23rd. So residents can still vote online on their computer, tablet, mobile device, and it is expected that those polling stations, the 23 that were open today, will be open once again tomorrow to help residents vote. You can still vote throughout the night, and that's barring that the server is back up on that website. So not just Greater Sudbury using this server, it's communities across the province who have chosen to go online.
That's true. So the bottom line, folks, tonight is we're not going to be able to tell you if we have a new mayor. We're not going to be able to tell you who is going to make up the 12-person council. We're not going to be able to tell you who the trustee candidates, who the trustees are going to be for the upcoming, for the next 4 years. We're just not going to be able to bring those results to you tonight. It's just not going to happen. We're not going to be able to get them.
We expected to have some results roll in just after 8 p.m. tonight, but like you said, Mark, it's just not going to happen. But what we can tell you is that hopefully this doesn't happen again tomorrow, and 8 p.m. tomorrow, those results that we expected today will roll in, and that's when we'll know who will make up the new or remaining council.
Yeah, that's true. It is a bit disappointing. It is, no one could have expected that the entire voting system was going to be, I don't know. I'm getting a signal now. We're going live to Heidi Elrickson at Tom Davies Square for an update presser with the city clerk.
Questions and answers, and then you guys are busy and have places to be, and wrap it up and away we go. You good, Eric?
Yeah.
Heidi?
Okay, should I tell them to start?
Whenever you're ready.
Okay.
No pressure, Heidi.
If you gentlemen could just favor the cameras too, even if you're...
Ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, is everybody else ready? Yeah. All right. Hello, my name is Ed Archer. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for the City of Greater Sudbury. I'm here tonight with Eric LaBelle, our City Clerk and City Solicitor, to share. We all know today is voting day in Ontario. We, like every other municipality across the province, have been preparing for months to get ready for tonight's results. And we expected tonight, right now, to be sharing those results with you. Instead, we're here to tell you about some challenges our service provider, Dominion Systems, has with their voting technology that's prompted us to initiate our contingency plan. Mr. LaBelle will describe the contingency plan, but generally it involves extending the voting period to tomorrow at 8 p.m. Mr. LaBelle?
Thank you all for coming. So as Mr. Archer indicated, we did, our voting service provider did experience some difficulties. As many of you are aware, many of our voting locations were unable to vote from approximately 5:30 until present time. We were on the telephone diagnosing and working with the service provider for a good portion of the day, as well as all of the other municipalities in Ontario that are using this service provider. At this time, we are still working to diagnose the issues. We're waiting to see exactly what the issues are, and when we know more, we'll be happy to communicate that. Under the Municipal Elections Act, as City Clerk, I'm entitled to declare emergency measures in exactly this circumstance. So we are, as Mr. Archer indicated, continuing the voting process tomorrow, because I do believe, and we all believe, that it's important for any elector that wishes to vote to have that opportunity. It's very unfortunate that people left voting locations or had extended waits at voting locations this evening and today. We hope that by extending the voting period, we will be able to give everybody an opportunity. So as indicated, the voting will continue tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., at which point the results will be tabulated after 8 p.m. To be clear, we are looking at most of the same voting locations we had today. We don't want to confuse the process. There may be a few private locations that we may not be able to use tomorrow, such as the hotels. But we are working, we have staff on the phone right now, working with those locations, making the necessary arrangements to make sure that we have all of the locations, the facilities, as well as the city staffing able to assist electors tomorrow. That's very important. As I can indicate, I think it's clear that no election results will be tabulated this evening. Accordingly, the voting will cease and has effectively ceased. And as soon as we can diagnose the system, we'll be back to voting tomorrow morning.
How much is this costing the city?
We haven't calculated the costs of this at this point. We are using city staff in all of our locations, so the cost is we are using those resources. We aren't anticipating any additional cost from our service provider because the issues arise with them in providing the service to us.
Is there any action you can take against Dominion?
I think it's too premature to say at this point. For the better part of last week, the voting process ran very smoothly. We had many great stories of people that were happy and really liked the voting process and how convenient it was for electors. So I don't want to convey that we don't have confidence in the results. When the results are tabulated, what we've heard from our service provider is that those results are accurate. They're not impacted. This was purely an issue of their, at this point it appears, the capacity and the ability of their servers to handle the volume that we experienced, not only here in Sudbury, but in the numerous other municipalities that were using them here in Ontario.
Some of those municipalities, including Timmins, have decided to just extend an hour. Why is Sudbury taking a different course of action?
Right. I think we did discuss that. The concern is the voting system, to my knowledge, is still not, they're still diagnosing the issues. And the concern was we wanted to be able to take measures as soon as possible to communicate it to the public, to electors, to the candidates, to the media, and to the public across the city. So that requires time. An event like this isn't put on, on a dime. And so us scrambling to get this process continuing for tomorrow is taking a lot of work. We've been organizing on that for the past hour and a half as we've been, and I thank staff that have dropped everything to assist us in this work. And it's important, I think, to give people an extra day and to not try to force that into 1 or 2 extra hours of voting at an after hours time where we may not get a lot of people at 9 and 10.
What time did the system conk out? Do we know the...
So we started experiencing the issues around 5:30, 5:20 p.m. this evening. We had some slowness issues this morning around 10, a quarter after 10. That was resolved fairly quickly, and it was thought that the same work could be done to resolve the issues around 5:30, and that didn't work out.
Eric, is there any concern, you might have already answered this, any concern that voters who have already cast ballots have not been counted in the results?
So when we were on the system, we're able to go in and see, so if an elector had concerns during the day or last week when they cast their ballot, and they were wondering did their ballot count, we were able, and we did check for a number of electors to go into the system and confirm that yes, you are indicated on the voters list as having cast your ballot. We can see the timestamp of the time your ballot was deposited into the electronic ballot box.
How many ballots cast?
As of the last point that we could see on the system, I think we were at around 44,000 ballots, and I'm guesstimating on that. I think we were close to in that area.
What do you have to say to voters?
My sincere apologies, absolutely, to everybody, to the staff in those locations who, were faced with a very difficult situation. It's unfortunate for them. It's unfortunate for the public, people that were in those locations that had to wait. It's unfortunate for the candidates, and I truly apologize to everybody involved.
Is this going to prompt the city to revisit the all-electronic format for next election?
Well, absolutely. I think always, once 2 years before the election is when we bring forward a report to discuss the election method for the upcoming election. So for 2022, you can expect that the clerk's team will come forward with a report on the election method that it recommends for the 2022 election.
Are you bracing for any legal action from the candidates or from other parties challenging the results in light of what's happened tonight?
That's certainly it's something that candidates can do if they choose to do that. The process, I have confidence in the results, and there's the ability under the Municipal Elections Act for candidates or persons to contest the election results. I can't speculate as to whether or not anybody will choose to do that, but certainly what we've heard from our service provider to this point is that there is no issue with the results.
You probably don't want to think about this right now, but what happens if there's computer problems tomorrow?
Well, certainly we are still working, and we will continue to work this evening with our service provider. We're looking to get some answers from them so that we can communicate that. You know, I mean, we're trying to get the voting to continue and end as soon as possible, because the candidates need some finality, they want results, and they deserve results. So I think, you know, we needed to schedule this continuation for as soon as possible. We have the equipment deployed there. We have the staff trained and ready to assist again tomorrow with Mr. Archer. With Mr. Archer's help, you know, we're deploying those staff again tomorrow, and so it only makes sense. And if there was a situation where they aren't able to diagnose the system and get it up and running by tomorrow, we would look at another fallback plan at that point. That's not the case at this point.
Kind of extending off of what Eric asked, so there were, you know, the system failed today and there were problems, but we are also hearing that some people were like getting the vote in today. So how are you making sure that the people who voted today during that malfunction period from like 5 p.m. onwards, how do you know that their ballots are being counted?
Right, so we, you know, throughout the day, if somebody had a complaint or a concern, whether in a voting location, they were able to call us here or speak to the voting locations and get confirmation, as I indicated, that by looking them up on the voters list to see that they in fact successfully cast their ballot. We can see a timestamp of the time the ballot went into the electronic ballot box. So we are able to provide that assurance to persons that as it was coming up during the day, if people had that concern.
Eric, is there any precedent for this kind of thing happening in a municipal election here in Sudbury, province-wide, nationally? Anything that you can point to?
I think the Municipal Elections Act provides for emergency measures for this exact reason. So if there is a failure, you know, you could imagine power outages or various situations, and you know, it doesn't list what those events could be. It's at the discretion of the municipal clerk, and you know, certainly this, in my view, warrants this decision tonight.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you
you
all.
guys.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Very much.
you guys coming.
Sorry you're having such a hard time.
Yeah.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, what we've seen is, you know, unprecedented in provincial elections. Quite likely, voting systems are down in municipalities that are using the electronic system all across the province. As you heard, we're at a press conference at Tom Davies Square with CAO Ed Archer and City Clerk Eric LaBelle. Mr. LaBelle explained that there are issues across the province. The issue, though, is not with, if you cast your ballot, you don't have to worry about the integrity of your vote. If you cast a ballot, your vote has been logged and entered and saved. The issue is with the amount of traffic that voting has caused on the servers of Dominion, the systems, the company that is providing the voting software. Apparently, their servers were unprepared for the amount of traffic that they would be receiving on election day today, and they've gone down. So, as I said, it's the voting system that has gone down. But if you have cast a ballot, your vote is safe, according to Eric LaBelle, and the integrity of that server has been protected.
So definitely, frustrating for voters who are trying to get their votes in, and you'd think that would be something that they would have tested out beforehand, before a big day like an election, and an important day like an election. Frustrating for voters, but also frustrating for candidates. Some candidates out there who are running for the first time, and this is their big day, the lead up, all the hard work, all the campaigning leading up to this day. And we're standing by with one of those candidates right now. Elena McDougall is standing by with mayoral candidate Patricia Mills. She's going to throw that over to Matt Dernan, who's standing by with Cody Cacciotti after that.
right, happy election night, Greater Sudbury. I'm here at Patricia Mills' campaign party this evening where things did not go perhaps as planned. Patricia, how are you feeling right now?
Well, I'm disappointed that we didn't get the vote out tonight, and but democracy has to be served. I had a lot of people anxious; they didn't get a chance to cast their vote, and I'm going to be spending my day tomorrow working with them, encouraging them to get out and finish their voting that they did today. I don't think that the public was served at all today by this, and I think that looking forward, we need to learn from this year's situation so that it's not repeated.
So what can we expect from you tomorrow evening, perhaps?
Well, I spent 10 hours today on street corners throughout the region of Greater Sudbury with the most dynamic group of people. And tomorrow I'm going to be spending probably 10 hours reaching out to my supporters to make sure that they had their opportunity to vote. It's very, very important.
Well, you seem just as positive as ever, Patricia.
Very much. I am positive, and we just delayed our victory party by one night.
All right, thanks. And to you, Matt Durnan from Cody Cacciotti's party.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Cody Cacciotti. We are at his election night headquarters. A little bit of a confusing night. We've had some technical difficulties. When did you find out and how?
Just a little while ago, we got a text from the elections group saying that there's going to be a 24-hour delay. They're going to be pushing it till tomorrow at 8 o'clock. So we're definitely frustrated. Just kind of regrouping with the team now, seeing what we can do to make sure voters who haven't had the opportunity to vote yet have that opportunity tomorrow, and just trying to get some information out to our followers.
Okay, now you mentioned frustration. Obviously, you're this close to the finish line. You're anticipating this night. What's your initial reaction when you see this email that says you got another 24 hours? Do you get back to work? Do you basically say, I've done all I can do?
No, I think there's definitely work to be done still. We're going to make sure we're relaying all that information to our followers, whether it's through our email addresses, whether it's through Facebook, social media, stuff like that. Being one of the first mayoral candidates to come out and express some frustrations with a full online vote, what's really been maddening for our group is the fact that there seems to be no plan B that was put in place in case something like this, this happened.
From where you stand, what is a plan B? How do you avoid something like this happening again? Do you go down this road of online voting again? Do you have maybe a hybrid where there's paper voting and online voting? Do you find a new system? From where you stand?
Definitely. I think we've talked to voters at the door, and the hybrid system, I think, is something that our citizens still wanted, especially from the senior ranks of our population. I think that's something we definitely need to focus on moving forward, depending on who actually gets elected. But I think we need to make sure that all steps are in place, whether we've had a week to vote. Maybe you break up the wards one day a week goes to each ward with a bit of a coast period at the end, something like that. But I think there's definitely solutions and some measures that could have been put in place to make sure that this didn't happen.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Cody.
Thank you.
We're going to throw it back to the studio with Mark and Nick.
Welcome back inside Sudbury.com, where our live election show has taken a turn as the voting has been extended until 8 p.m. tomorrow. The city released this information around 8 p.m. when the polls should have closed today, and we should have got results. But those results, barring another crash from the sites that are operating, is going to come tomorrow. And all polling stations that were open today, the city is working to get those open again tomorrow.
And it looks like the voting system may have popped back up. It seems like the online voting system is working again. It seems that, so you should, if you can try and log in, you should be able to go in and cast a ballot, is what we're hearing.
Yeah, and you'll be able to do that throughout the night, and starting from 10 a.m. tomorrow to 8 p.m., you'll be able to cast your ballot if you weren't able to get through to the site today. If you were able to cast your ballot, no worries, that vote has been logged and will count tomorrow.
That's right. So tomorrow during the day from 10 to 8 p.m., 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., you'll be able to go to any of the 23 polling stations. Is 23, Nick?
23.
23 polling stations, as well as any of the voting help centers, I believe, as well, if you need assistance in that regard.
And so I don't know if we want to go to Twitter to talk a little bit about some of the comments and some of the experiences that people have been having throughout this crazy evening.
Okay, so here we got this one's great. I'm not sure if this is at is Hafortin or at Isha Fortin. I'm not really sure, but tweeted, the true winner of tonight is Michael Vagnini's coat. Hashtag GSVotes18. I agree with that. I think his coat was fantastic. You want to read that one?
Sure. I think yours is pretty snazzy though.
Oh,
too.
you're a sweetheart.
And so this one is from Scott Stormy. That is a great name. Sounds like a hockey player. Why didn't we have more than 2 choices for the arena? The South End would have been the best place. Just for background, there were 4 sites that were narrowed down, and then the consultants saw that the top 2 sites were the downtown was number 1. Yeah. Close second was the Kingsway.
That's right. So PricewaterhouseCoopers was contracted to with Ron Badulka, who's an expert in community arenas and in new arena developments. He was contracted to do an analysis of the sites that were put forward as possible locations for an arena, Scott. And all of the 2 were eliminated as well, and the downtown and the Kingsway were the ones that were picked as the most viable options, I guess, for that sort of development. We also have this one's kind of funny. At Kingsley Mallow tweeted, hey, at Sudbury.com, this hashtag women in politics video is making me happy. Hashtag GSVotes18. Thanks very much. Kingsley, of course, is the founder of Politics Now. Now is an acronym for Northern Ontario Women. She was one of the sources, of course, for that for that story, and she helped us out quite a bit with that.
So just a crazy evening. We heard from 2 candidates who are running for mayor. Those candidates out there, all the candidates within all of the wards, school board trustees, and the mayors will have to wait until tomorrow to find out, who makes up council, who's the mayor of Greater Sudbury. We heard from 2 of the candidates, Patricia Mills and Cody Cacciotti, and we believe we're going to be hearing from the incumbent Mayor Brian Bigger shortly.
Yeah, we should be hearing from Brian Bigger shortly. We had Elena McDougall over with the Patricia Mills campaign, and of course, Mills, she expressed some disappointment in how the evening went out, but spoke about how important it is to the integrity of the system and to the importance for voters of making sure that they can have confidence in their ballots.
And one of the interesting things about the press conference that was held at Tom Davies Square was one of the questions was asked, will you be going back to paper ballots in the next municipal election? Yeah. And I think that there's no going back from here. It's just taking steps forward with this new system. There are some problems. There are some people who are going to have some challenges voting. But now this system, if they decide to go back with the same service provider, understands just how much traffic is going to be on election day.
Yeah, that's true. And another question that was asked at the press conference is whether or not candidates can sue. Because of the system went down, if they can launch a lawsuit, in regards to the results, or contest the results in some sort of fashion. And of course, as Clerk Eric LaBelle told us, yes, that is always an option. We have no idea if anyone is actually going to contest the results of the election or not. It's we're in the midst of it right now, so it's far too early to say whether or not that's going to happen.
But again, just to clarify, if you have voted, if you were able to get onto the site and voted, your vote will count. It's just people had trouble getting onto the site. Around 7 o'clock is when it crashed. So the voting period has been extended to 8 p.m. tomorrow, and you'll have all night. It seems like the website is back up and running, so if you want to log on now and get your vote in or wait till tomorrow, that option is up to you.
And once the votes are back up and running, or once the system is back up and running, and we'll be able to get those results sometime tomorrow night, of course. We spoke with Ward 2 councillor Michael Vagnini earlier, And what he mentioned is, the integrity of the system and the problems that we're having electronically or digitally, sort of infrastructure-wise tonight are one thing. But he has other concerns in regards to how electronic voting was rolled out in Sudbury, how was a sort of a sudden transition that, in his view, left many voters, particularly older voters, particularly senior citizens, feeling somewhat disenfranchised by the process.
And there were a number of complaints as well, people not getting their PINs, which you needed to get on and vote. There were some people who were sent 2. Some households were sent, 3 for their children who no longer live here. And there were some people who were sent 2 for their maiden name and their married name, I guess that's what it's called.
Sure. Nick's a bachelor.
And so there's those problems, but the staff, I have to give them credit, at the libraries across the city did a great job at handling all the people who were coming in. Especially today, there was an influx of people who were coming in to try and get the problems rectified. The major problem came with the server that people were trying to log on and vote. And this, like we said, this is not a problem just here in Greater Sudbury. This is a problem for communities who are using the server who decided to go online voting like Greater Sudbury did.
That would be Dominion Systems is the name of the company. And it wasn't just as Councillor Vagnini raised the issue, with those senior voters, the sort of sudden transition away from paper ballots, it did leave a lot of people who are unfamiliar with how to use these things, who aren't necessarily find them trustworthy. It left a lot of them feeling left out of this electoral process. And if they went to one of the voting help centers, and this was another issue that we heard not only from Councillor Vagnini but from other sources, is that if you had to go to one of those voting help centers to get help, that person who helped you had to walk people through the process, and which meant that the secrecy of their ballot was not preserved. Now, that left many people feeling uncomfortable with that process. Now, they did have to, they did have to declare an oath of secrecy to say publicly that the secrecy, the integrity of that ballot would be protected. But still, for a lot of older voters who are used to going into a little box on their own and making their mark on a slip of paper and then putting that slip of paper in a box, having someone stand over their shoulder and help them with their vote was very uncomfortable for them.
And I think, going forward, this is the system that we're going to use. There has to be some, maybe some education going forward. And Science North puts on a great program for seniors to, learn how to use an iPad if they do have it, or a tablet. They have those services are out there in the community. There should have maybe been more geared towards, prepping for the municipal election. If you have any questions, maybe a year ago leading up to this, though, people could get prepared. And, tap into family members. If you have, kids, grandkids who are very comfortable with the programs and with these kind of devices, that's a great bridge point, and maybe some family bonding time as well.
Yeah, and then certainly you can help, if you can help older relatives or older loved ones who may be unfamiliar with the technology and the system. You can certainly help them with that, but I think it has to be said that the voting day, the polling stations were slammed. They were slammed by people who hadn't gotten their voter cards. They were slammed by people who didn't understand how the electronic balloting system worked. And what that says to me is that the city could have done a better job of educating the electorate in the run-up to this election about what the process was going to be like, and helping particularly those older voters feel comfortable that when they cast an electronic ballot, it is no different. The safety of that ballot is no different from when they cast a paper ballot. We can certainly say the system is, that integrity is there, but what we lacked was making people feel comfortable.
And you know what, going forward, that's going to be something that is a big hot topic, but at the same time, if the website doesn't crash, are we having these same conversations?
Yeah.
I mean, people are still going to have to go out to those 23 polling stations, but if it doesn't crash and everyone is able to cast their ballot, are we having the same conversation? And hopefully, this isn't a problem that happens tomorrow. Hopefully, the amount of people who went out to vote today they're able to space that out, and the website can handle the traffic.
Right. We're just going to break the fourth wall here for a second. Is Mr. Vagnini mic'd?
No, if he stands between you guys.
Okay. Hopefully our lav mics will be able to pick up the councillor. We've just had him out on assignment for us. We're not paying him. I just want to make that perfectly clear right now.
There's no money in this?
We're not funding anymore. We're not funding any of your jackets. You just came back from City Hall. What can you tell us about what's the mood like down there, Michael?
Obviously, down at City Hall, they are very distraught at this point in time. They don't anticipate something like this coming on. And as Rick alluded to, the 7 o'clock, it did happen, but it started, I guess the tweaks and the issues started at about 5:30. And then I guess the whole system crashed down at that point in time. So they are going to open it up for another day from 10 o'clock till 8 o'clock tomorrow. And we're going to be doing the same thing maybe.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly be back here.
I sit back and I'm listening to you two gentlemen talk about it. And reality is, lawsuits or whatever the case is, the people will get the opportunity to vote. Is the communication going to be out there in time? That's one of the things that we have to worry about. Reality, do I think we're going to have lawsuits? I don't know why they would, but anything can happen and anybody can sue anybody at any time of the day. The big thing that I think is we really have to, and I've said this from day one, we really have to bring back the paper vote. That is so important because it's a tradition. And what do I mean by that? I mean when we have seniors out there that on voting day, they get together with their friends, they go for breakfast, and they go down to the polling station. And when I went down to the polling station at about 5 o'clock in Coppercliff today, I sat there and I went, oh, I'm just in front of a computer, the same as if I'd be sitting at home.
Yeah, you're talking about making voting more going to the electronic ballot has lacked some of the romance, perhaps, of the paper. Is that what you're saying, Councillor?
Yes, the history of the paper. And if we did have that back up tonight, I don't know how much it would have changed, but maybe those people that were standing in line would have been able to vote. Would it still have closed off the ones from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock that were going to plan and sit in front of their computer? That may not have changed, but it would have changed for the people standing in line. Mm-hmm. So I think we jumped the gun, and I've said this. I said it after the 2014 election, and I'll say it again. I said it again 6 months ago, and I'll say it again. We jumped the gun on the fact that we should have not just gone to complete electronic voting. We should have stayed there with the paper ballot in the back. It's almost like having, in the wintertime, having booster cables in your car. If your battery dies, you know somebody down the street that you can run over and you can boost the car, you can get it going again. Yeah. We didn't have booster cables in the trunk. And that's where I think our problem is.
Yeah, well, that's you mean I'm just going to pull this out. It might make this a little bit easier volume-wise. But now, are you going to be? One thing I mentioned was perhaps the city could have done a better job of educating people in the run-up to this election about how electronic voting was going to work. Do you think the city dropped the ball on helping all electors get their franchise and be able to cast their ballot? Could the city have done a better job?
Mark, I don't believe so. And why am I saying that? I'm saying that because if a person doesn't get the paper or if they don't have a computer, how are they going to know anyways whether or not the system has changed or how the system has changed? So you're trying to educate the masses, and for the first time in the history of Canada, last year the age of 65 and older was greater than the age of 15 and younger. So now we have this huge population that are used to the old ways.
Right, but like we're talking about, I mean, we have to slice that older demographic up a little bit. Well, because people, there's a big difference in technology knowledge between someone who's 65 and came of age in the age of the television and someone who's 85 and came of age in the age of the radio. So there's a big difference in their level of comfort with technology.
But I don't believe that because somebody at 85 can be really good on a computer.
Sure.
And I mean, somebody like myself that still has a VCR and an 8-track is completely different than somebody at the age of 65 that may not have. Don't laugh.
I am laughing. You have a VCR and an 8-track?
Yeah.
You have these incredibly flashy jackets, but you're still pushing an 8-track?
I have Stompin' Tom Commoners on my 8-track. So what is that? That isn't the point. The point behind that is there is a mass group in the seniors that love to vote, and you can count on them to vote. And the problem, what we have created now, is we've kind of segued away from that, and so we've left a whole void. And so to try and teach everybody about the electronic process, you're just not going to be able to do that. There's no way. What you can do is you can say, here you go, here's one alternative, the alternative A, and then alternative B is still that paper ballot. And
So how many elections should we do? Should we do that? How many elections should we keep the paper ballots and then the electronic ballots? For how long do you think would be a reasonable amount of time?
Very good comment. Until the electronic process works. Until the electronic process works, then we can get rid of the paper ballot. And how long does that take? I don't know.
But so
yes, Rick.
In the 4 years, so the next municipal election will be 4 years from now.
Correct.
To go to paper ballots, wouldn't that be taking a step backwards? So
in what sense?
So in the sense, like, it was super easy to vote. Like I was in my pajamas, I voted, it was done. I went in, click, 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 and my votes were done. All I had to do was enter the PIN. And so would it not be a step backwards from right now where we're saying, all electronic? So we go 4 years from now, those, the people continue to age. I mean, my mom's in her 60s. She has an iPad. She's on it all the time and voted easily from there. So as the population continues to get older, they're going to grow with the devices that they have now.
How do you know that? How do you know that the seniors are going to grow with the devices that they have now? You still have a whole population of seniors that want to stay the way they are because, and you're young and you're a bachelor and you had trouble figuring out married or single and not being funny. But what happens is with those seniors, they've been doing it the same way forever. And so now we're going to tell them that they have to do it a different way. And so we can't do that because they're comfortable in their own skin. They're comfortable there. I had 14 people from one of our senior homes that said they're not voting because they have to go to electronic. Now, I don't think in 4 years that we're going to change their mind and say, oh yeah, you know what? I've got an iPad now and I'm going to go in a different way. I was joking about the VCR and the 8-track, but I remember my dad saying to me, Michael, you got to get up here. The VCR is flashing 12. Well, I'm getting to the point where the VCR is flashing 12, and if I have a problem with my phone, I have to bring my daughters in. And so, right or wrong, you just can't, 25% of the people are going to change, 50% are slowly going to change, but there's another 25% that'll never change.
Obviously you're pulling those percentages out of nowhere, but I get your point. That it does.
It's called paradigm shift. It's a book.
There's an adaptation that has to occur. There's a comfort level that has to occur with when it comes to the comfort level with technology and voting. What we have to do, what we need to do after this though, is get to the bottom of how widespread the issues were, not electronically, but we will be able to tell from the voter turnout and from the demographics of the voter turnout where the problems really did lie.
Mark, listen to me. So between 2010 and 2014, so we did not have any electronics in 2010. The difference when we went to the electronic world was less than 1%. Less than 1% going to this whole big electronic world. So what is the impact? We talk about weather, the time of day, whatever the case may be for people to be able to get up because of work. But reality is it was less than 1% by doing all this new electronic voting.
But that also says that we didn't lose anybody.
That's right.
Okay. So we didn't lose anybody.
That's right. So what we're saying is that once we see when the voter turnout is finalized tomorrow night, we will know how many people voted, and we will know the ages of those people that voted, and we will be able to see from the demographic breakdown. We will be able to tell which, if there were widespread issues with the oldest level of voters, we will be able to see from the data if there were fewer of them who voted in this election than voted in previous.
Because, sorry to interrupt you. No. So the stats up into 4 p.m. today from the city were 35% eligible voters. We're around, you'd say, about 48 to 50%, usually in a municipal election. Correct?
Correct.
So, 35 up into 4 p.m. today. The problems started to occur at 5:30.
Right.
So it seems like the majority of the people who are voting were going out to those polls after work, or later in the day at 5:30 to 8 o'clock to get their votes in, like they normally would on a normal election with the paper ballots. So you think there's probably 15% of those voters from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. So that's making it 50%.
Well, that, as Mark alluded to my percentages, you're guessing at your percentages. So what I would say is, and maybe I'm missing my point, maybe I'm not clarifying myself properly, is what we have missed is the traditional voting day. You have a large group that love the voting day, and you are going to say, yes, we have the young people, the two people that are working, and it's so nice and convenient for them to get online. So we basically have put ourselves in a bit of a box with the way we are going.
Okay.
So let's go.
All right, we're going to be heading over to the Ambassador Hotel at the moment, where we're expecting incumbent Mayor Brian Bigger will be speaking shortly. So we'll go to that right now. Thanks, Councillor.
could come over. We got everyone here needs to be.
Okay, everyone, I think we all are up to speed on the events that have led us here. I'm Todd Robson, and I'm a member of this campaign team, and I'm prepared to read a statement. On behalf of Mayor Brian Bigger, I'm going to read a statement on behalf of the campaign. And because Mayor Bigger is also the mayor and the CEO of the city, he'll be able to also answer questions, but we have to respect that he has a dual role in this process. So on behalf of the campaign, we wish to say that there is no other word than disgusted to describe tonight's failure in the election process. We are extremely disappointed in how tonight's election failed the voters of Greater Sudbury. As a candidate and the leader of the city, Mayor Bigger is demanding an explanation by City of Greater Sudbury senior staff who put this process in place and why there was no backup plan in place for this evening. Tonight, we are demanding accountability from those responsible and want to ensure every voter who wants to vote in this election can. Sudbury voters were let down tonight. We are demanding a thorough investigation and analysis of what went wrong, and those responsible will be held accountable. There will be consequences for those who made poor choices that impeded this process in our city this evening. And we are happy that everyone who wants to vote in this election will have the chance to vote by extending the hours to 8 p.m. tomorrow. But let us reassure everyone in this city that there will be accountability for this colossal failure that occurred tonight. Thank you. Mayor Bigger is here to answer any questions. I can also answer questions on behalf of the campaign. Mayor Bigger, 4 questions.
Okay. Brian, were staff given any direction from council as part of the decision to switch to an exclusively online election to have a backup in place should something like this occur?
I've never seen a process like this that hasn't had a backup plan, a backup system. You know, I'm so disappointed that this process has failed the voters of Sudbury, and you know, all I can say is that you know, there will be accountability. I want answers. I want it completely investigated and followed through to understand how this occurred, how these choices and decisions were made. You know, the best thing that we can do at this point in time is extend the ability to vote until 8 o'clock tomorrow, and so that's what we have done. And you know, I hope that people will be able to you know, overcome their disappointment with the process and still come out to vote if they have not voted. It's very important that they vote. This is a very important election.
When the decision was made to go fully online, you guys had options between, you know, paper and online or just online. And as I recall, the paper ballot was at about another 900,000 or something like that. So you decided to go online only. In retrospect, you know, you think maybe, you know, as mayor, you should have made sure there was a backup plan in place before you made that decision?
Well, I think this is clearly a decision of the entire council. The mayor is one vote in that process, and you know, we were working with the information we had at the time. As I said, you know, I can't fathom a process that doesn't have a backup plan, backup servers, you know, allowing a process to fail like this. And so, you know, there will be answers, and the public will understand how this occurred and who made these decisions. But, you know, all I can say is that it was a decision of council moving forward, but council doesn't manage the you know, the minutia of the agreements with the firms that are to provide the servers and to provide the support. I know that there are a number of other municipalities that are experiencing the same challenges. I'm not aware of what their plans are, but I think it's very important for people to know they will have the ability to vote. If you have not voted, please come out and vote until 8 o'clock tomorrow, and I believe the same voter stations will be available.
do you as mayor and council collectively share any of the responsibility for this as you called it, it's a colossal failure?
It absolutely is a colossal failure. I'm so disappointed in this process. This really is me very concerned and very upset about the failure of this process for voters in the city of Greater Sudbury. All I can say is we voted to have a process. We believed and trusted the people that were given the responsibility and accountability to implement this process, and it's failed us. So we will get answers. We will investigate, the process, and the most important thing is that people have that opportunity to vote.
This is such a big black eye for online voting. Do you think this is something that council is going to support in the future? Just because obviously this is something that can happen.
I absolutely, expect that as council we will reconsider the online voting process because of this failure. And as I said, I'm demanding a full investigation and explanation of what's happened here. At the same time, very important for people to come out and vote if they can tomorrow, if they have not already voted.
Is the campaign, and I don't know if this is a Todd's answer necessarily, but is the campaign consulting with a legal counsel? Are you bracing for any challenges to the election results, even if the election is able to resume tomorrow as normal? Are you bracing from any other candidates questioning the results, challenging the results?
Well, I would expect that the city would be defending challenges to the process. The city has senior staff at the city have managed this process, and the city will be accountable for the failure of this process. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
That's that.
Okay.
Welcome inside Sudbury.com, where we're continuing to do our live election show, and it looks like we're going to get to do 2 shows for the price of 1. As we just heard from Mayor Brian Bigger and his speech after, we heard from Cody Cacciotti and Patricia Mills. But Mark, what did you think of Mayor Brian Bigger?
I thought his statement was kind of odd in a way, Nick. For one thing, I didn't understand why he had, I'm not sure if it was his campaign manager, come out and read a statement, and then he came up and took questions from the audience. I'm not quite sure the mayor, I mean, he is the incumbent. He is still the mayor of the city at this point in time. The people are looking to him for some kind of answer, and he didn't really offer much in the way of answers.
And also saying that, city staff will be held accountable. However, I mean, it was the site that crashed, not city staff that crashed.
No, as far as we know, city staff did not crash tonight, although I think some of them probably wish they had crashed, but they didn't. But it's odd. It's odd that the mayor would seem to be casting blame upon staff. I'm not sure if what the mayor meant was he did not appreciate the backup plan that staff had in place, because it certainly isn't the fault of the city of Greater Sudbury or any of its employees that Dominion system servers went down. I mean, that is not Sudbury's fault. It's not Peterborough's fault. It's not any of the fault of any of the municipalities that were using Dominion systems. This is something that happened within the Dominion system server, wasn't able to keep up possibly with the load of voters and failed. That isn't something that happened here at City Hall. So we can't blame local city staff for what happened with the voting. Perhaps the mayor is taking issue with the contingency plan that the city had put in place, that contingency plan being that we're going to extend the voting period for 24 hours to 8 p.m. tomorrow night. Perhaps that's what the mayor meant?
And a number of cities that had similar problems decided to extend their voting deadline to 9 p.m. The website actually came on pretty quick after 8 p.m. About 8:15, 8:20 is when the website was back up. So you can cast your ballot. Here in Sudbury, you will have until 8 p.m. tomorrow to cast that ballot.
Mm-hmm. And the mayor said that there will be repercussions for this failure. Again, we don't quite know what he meant by that. It is election night, of course. The campaign period, as we know, has been extended for 24 hours. So all of these candidates who thought they had stopped campaigning are still campaigning now. So that is certainly, that speech from the mayor is certainly a campaign speech in many ways that will, hoping to sort of extend the impact he has on voters into tomorrow.
And it was council, including Mayor Brian Bigger, who voted to go with this system, the all-electronic voting system, and to Ward 2 Councillor Michael Vagnini's point when he was in here saying that, maybe that they went too quick with this system and moving all online, whereas the last municipal election, it was half online, or there was the option for online voting as well as paper balloting. So there was that. Maybe that's what he is upset about, that there wasn't that option.
Michael,
when
the mayor.
The mayor, sorry,
Okay.
when the mayor was giving his speech, that when the site went down, there wasn't that option to here's some paper ballots for all those to fill out, and then we get the votes in. You extend it by an hour at most, but the city decided to go to tomorrow at 8 p.m. I think it was the right call.
It's hard to say. It could be the right call. I mean, it's certainly, we're not going to be getting any results tonight. There's certainly people who are, disappointed and and who didn't get to vote because they felt they left the polling station because of all of the problems. So certainly, you make a good point, Nick, that by extending the period for a further 24 hours, you do give those people who were frustrated a chance maybe to take a breath and decide whether or not they would like to go back to the polls and vote again.
Well, you think about the people who went to the voting stations and got frustrated, turned back around and decided not to vote. That option is there, and some of those people took transit to get to the polling stations. Some of those people had to travel and get rides or take rides, and maybe if you extend it for an hour, they can't come back and get that vote in. So at least now, those who want to vote online can throughout the night. I noticed I was getting a number of text messages from people who had a tough time with the server and the website and weren't able to access, but were voting or trying to vote around 7 o'clock. And so those people have an opportunity to vote throughout the night, and people who need help voting at the polling stations have that opportunity from 10 to 8 p.m. tomorrow. So you get a full day rather than a 1 hour window to try and rush back to those probably busy polling stations.
I would think, yeah.
And you get that full day to be able to get it all out of the way.
Yeah, that's true. And so as Nick said, the voting period is going to be extended for another day, which means that our show, this live coverage of Election Night 2018, which is going to become Election 2 Night 2018, as in TWO 2 Night, we'll be back tomorrow evening with a whole new show for you. So we didn't get to everything we wanted to cover tonight. Obviously, we didn't get to give you the results, and we are going to be giving those results to you. But of course, we won't be able to do that until tomorrow.
So yeah, tomorrow, hopefully nothing crashes, everything goes as planned, and we'll be able to tell you who won the mayor's seat, what makes up, or who makes up council and the school board trustees. It's going to be all new tomorrow. We're going to have some stuff that we touched on, obviously, tonight, some main issues like the Kingsway Entertainment District, but we'll also be able to bring you those speeches. If you missed them, you can head to Sudbury.com. Patricia Mills was standing by, as was Cody Cacciotti and Mayor Brian Bigger. You just heard him. If you missed them, head to Sudbury.com. The interviews will be up there, as well as the press conference that happened at 8 p.m. today, the city explaining everything that happened with the voting system.
And as Nick said, we'll be back again tomorrow night. Probably we'll let you know. Probably around 7:30. We will be back. Someone is writing on a pad for me. I'm trying to read it.
It says PHG.
And yes, Plug Rogers, Nick.
Oh,
Rogers.
Plug Rogers. Okay, not PHG. I thought we were going the periodic table for a second. I was like, what element is that? Didn't pass science. So you can also tune in tomorrow. We're going to have updates 20 and 40 after. Starting at 8 o'clock, depending on our show time. So on 92.7 Rock and Kiss 105.3. We will also tomorrow morning, Mel and Chris on 92.7 Rock and Gary and Shannon on Kiss 105.3. We'll have all the interviews and reaction from the candidates who spoke with us tonight. So you're not going to want to miss that. And again, our show tomorrow on Sudbury.com.
92.7 Rocks, where the music is as loud as Michael Vagnini's jackets.
I think we should end it on that.
So we're going to say good night to you folks. We want to thank you very much for joining us for what has been an historic non-election event in Sudbury. We're going to be back for part 2 tomorrow night, and of course you can always head to Sudbury.com. We'll have some additional coverage this evening, and we'll have additional coverage tomorrow. And we hope to see you back here tomorrow night around 7:30. Good night.